So today we're going to do a short workout running through some of the basic Pilates exercises that you can hopefully fit into a daily routine. Okay, so we're going to come and lie on our backs in what we call the relaxation position. And I want you to notice that the back of the pelvis is heavy and the back of the rib cage is heavy. And I want you to feel this nice openness across the front of the chest. So those shoulders are just melting down in towards the floor. Spreading out through the toes, you're going to take a breath in. And as you exhale, start to just tilt your pelvis and feel how the lower back lengthens and flattens into the mat. And then release it back down again. And again, you just exhale and feel that pelvis curling up and the tummy sinking downwards. And then release. I'll do one more of those. And then release it down. Taking those arms up above your shoulders, palms facing each other. Just breathe in and reach the fingertips right up towards the ceiling, and then let them fall back down. And again, breathing in to reach up. And then exhale to release them down. One more time. Inhale, reach. And then release. Let the shoulders stay nice and heavy. And this time on your next exhale, we're going to take those arms back and keep the rib cage down. The arms don't need to go all the way to the floor. They can stay hovering off the mat. And then bring the arms back up above your shoulders. Okay, so the most important thing about this is that we keep the spine still and the ribs still. So I'm not letting this rib cage stick up towards the ceiling. And then breathe in, bring the arms up. One more time. Exhale, take those arms back behind you. And then breathe in, bring the arms up and down by your sides. And we're going to go into what we call a spine curl. So take a breath in. And as we exhale, we're tilting that pelvis and just starting to lift the hips up towards the ceiling. Press the arms down into the floor and roll up to the base of your shoulder blades. So you've got the weight across the top of the back, and there's no weight in the head and neck. You should be easily able to lift your head without any problems. Take a breath in, and then we're going to roll the spine back down again and try and feel each vertebra coming into the mat one after the other. Release your spine back down, and you'll feel that pelvis tipping and the lower back just coming away from the floor. And then exhale, let's do that again. Rolling back up. Collarbones wide, arms pressing down, breathing in. And then exhaling, rolling back down again. Let's do one more of those, tilting that pelvis. Try and think about sending your knees forwards over your toes as you come up. And then on the way down, I want you to try and keep the front of the chest open and the front of the throat open. So soften the breastbone. And then let that spine melt back down into your mat. And then release the pelvis into neutral. You're going to take your arms up above your shoulders and bring your feet and your knees together. Shoulders are heavy. And then as you exhale, you're going to take your legs to the right. The left-hand side of the pelvis will lift. Take a breath in. And then you're going to use your abdominal muscles to pull the ribs back, pull the tummy back, and pull the hips back. Okay, and then breathe in the center. And then exhale, roll over to the other side. So you're rolling onto your left hip and your right hip lifts. Keep the knees glued together. Take a breath in. And then from there, think about pulling your right ribs back. And I'm using my hand to show you, but you can keep your arms up. Okay, and then breathe in the center. Both shoulder blades are heavy. Exhale, take the legs to the right. Take a breath in. And again, you're thinking first of those left ribs sinking drawing the left waist in and back, and you're rolling across the back of the pelvis. And then one more to the other side. That right hip lifts, breathe in there. And then as you exhale, using those tummy muscles to drag the legs back. And then separate your feet back to hip width apart. Interlace your fingers and just slide them underneath your head. Okay, and your elbows are lifted so that you can see them in your peripheral vision. Take a breath in. And as you exhale, lift your head, nod your chin, and you're going to curl the upper body forwards off the mat. Looking towards the top of the knees, take a breath in there. And then exhale, lower the spine back down. Okay, so what I'm trying not to do is pull my head forwards with my hands. So my head is staying heavy as I lift it just off the mat. And then I drop my chin down, so I'm looking towards my thighs. And then I'm thinking of curling up through here. So that breastbone sinks and the ribs sink and they slide downwards towards the hips. And then it's my tummy muscles that are holding me up here and not my hands pulling my head forwards. Breathe in and then lower yourself back down. And again, take a breath in. And exhale, curl forwards. Really think of that sinking of the chest, sinking of the ribs. Now look towards your pelvis and make sure that the pelvis is still flat and level and that the pubic bone hasn't curled up towards your knees because it quite loves to do that. And then bring yourself back down. Let's do 2 more of those. Breathing in nice and wide and full into your ribs. Exhale, lift the head, nod the chin and curl forwards. And then coming back. Keeping that weight on the back of the pelvis as you come up. And then lower yourself back down. Okay, take your hands away, bring your arms down by your sides. And in fact, it might be easier if you just bring your hands onto your pelvis just for the first few. I want you to keep the pelvis really still. So you've got this triangle here underneath your hands. And I would like that triangle to be parallel with the floor. So if you just flatten your lower back, notice how the pubic bone is lifted. And if you go and overarch the lower back, as long as that's comfortable, feel how the pubic bone is pointing towards the floor and the hips are lifted, okay? And you don't want either of those extremes. What we're looking for is a balanced pelvis, which with this triangle parallel to the floor, okay? And then from there, you're breathing in. And as you exhale, you're going to pick one foot up and bring the knee into the chest, only as far as you can keep your spine neutral, okay? So that little curve in the lower back is staying there. And then let's do the same on the other side. So this leg lifts and there's no shift in the ribs or in the hips or in the pelvis or in the lower back. It all stays nice and still. I'm going to bring my arms down, but you can keep them on your pelvis if it helps. Inhale to place the foot down. Exhale to lift the other leg. Okay, so we're just getting used to the idea of this thigh bone moving independently of the pelvis. And it's very important that we can do that. All right, one more time on each side. As that foot comes down, try and make the transition really light so there's no change through the body as the other leg lifts. And then place it down. Okay, and then again, keeping that pelvis nice and still. This time we're going to go into a leg slide. So one leg slides forwards and nothing shifts in the lower back, in the pelvis, and then slide it back in. And the other leg slides out. And then bring it back. Okay, and then your right leg's going to slide back, and at the same time your left arm is going to go back. And remember when we were doing that first movement with the arms in the beginning, we're trying to keep the rib cage down and then bring the arm and the leg back in. So exhale to take right arm, left leg away from each other. Inhale to bring it back. Exhale, leg slides out. Arm reaches. And back. Really focus on the back of your rib cage staying in contact with the floor. And that little curve in the lower back does not change shape. So the spine itself stays really still. Last one on each side. And then bring it all back into the center. Okay, we're going to come and lie on our sides now. So just take this arm out straight underneath you, and we're going to bend the bottom knee, okay? You should be able to just slide a hand underneath your bottom ribs and place the top hand on the floor in front of your chest. Flex your top ankle so you're pulling your toes in towards your shin, and then from there you're going to lift your leg up and lower it down. And as you lift, you're trying to keep this top waist long. So maybe a hand on the top hip, and think about sending that top hip away so this waist stays really nice and long. Let's do 2 more. And the last one. Good. And then with your hand down in front again, you're going to take your leg forwards. Try and keep it at hip height. Then you point the foot to take the leg behind you and open the front of the hip. And then flex the ankle to come forward. And then point to take it back. Okay, so again, we're keeping our spines really still. So as the leg comes forwards, I want you to try and keep your spine still. And as the leg goes back, that spine stays still. 2 more. It's really tempting to let it round now, and as the leg goes back, to let the back arch, but that's what we're trying not to do. Coming forwards and back, and then bring the legs together. And you're going to bring your arms out in front of you, one hand on top of the other, and if you want to, you can always put a cushion under your head here, okay? That'll make it more comfortable in that bottom shoulder. So take your top arm up towards the ceiling. You're going to follow it with your eyes. Inhale as that arm goes up, and then exhale. You're going to open your chest up towards the ceiling, and that arm just follows. So try and keep the arm in line with the collarbone and try not to let the arm fall behind your shoulder. Breathe in, bring it back up, and then exhale, take it down on top of the other hand. Let's do 2 more of those. So nice inhale to lift the arm. And then exhale, and you're thinking about your ribs opening up towards the ceiling. And then lift and back. And last one. Arm comes up. You're trying to get some space in between the shoulder blades on the floor. Okay, so how much of that upper back can you get onto the mat? And then lift and bring the arm down. Okay, we're going to switch over. Do the same thing on the other side. So, bottom knee bent, nice straight arm that you're lying down on, and then place your hand in front of you, and then flex that top foot, so the foot's pulling towards your shins, and you're going to lift the leg up and lower. And whilst you lift, I want you to think of reaching your heel away. And that's it. 3, 4, and last one, 5. Okay, and then we're going to take that leg forwards and point to take the leg back. So I'm working hard to keep that leg at hip height as it comes forward so that the leg doesn't drop. And back. And I'm gently pressing this bottom leg down into the floor to keep me stable. And I'm trying not to round the spine as the leg comes forwards or to arch the spine as the leg goes back. It stays really still. This is my last one. And then I'm going to bend both knees, bringing your arms out in front of you. Maybe that cushion again underneath your head if you would like it. So top arm comes up, breathing in. And then exhale as you open your chest. And keep that arm in line with the rest of the collarbone and the rest of the chest. And then lift it up and bring it down. Okay, so this is not about getting a stretch through the front of that shoulder. It's more about opening the chest. So can you get a little bit more space in between the shoulder blades onto the mat? And then you come back down. And the last one. Think about your breastbone looking up towards the ceiling. You're going to keep looking at your hand. And then bring it back. And down. All right, we're going to come and lie on our tummies. And let's have the hands on either side of the forehead. Reaching the legs away from you. And have them slightly turned out, the legs, so that the heels are looking towards each other and the knees are looking out slightly. Take a breath in here. And then as you exhale, you're going to start to lift the back of the head. And then start to lift your chest. Let's keep the bottom ribs on the mat. And if you float your arms off the floor, you're not going to sink in height. Take a breath in here. And then lower yourself back down. We're trying to make that spine as long as possible as it comes up and back down again. Okay. Breathing in and then exhale, lifting through the head and the neck. Drawing those tummy muscles in very gently so that we don't just arch in our lower back, so the lower back is supported. Breathing in and then bringing it down. We're aiming for a nice even curve through that upper back. So the neck comes up a little bit and then I'm trying to think of lifting my breastbone up. So it's really easy to tip my neck back and look forwards, but I don't want us to do that. I want us to try and keep the neck in line with the rest of the spine. And that upper back doesn't curve very much in that backwards direction. So we don't want to overdo the neck back bend. Let's do 2 more. Breathe in. And then exhale, lift up. And you can also do this with your arms just floating off the mat just to ensure that you're not pushing the hands into the floor. And then down. Last one. Breathe in. Allow those ribs to expand sideways and backwards. And then lift the chest up. Good. And bring it back down. Bring your hands underneath your forehead. Just cross one on top of the other. And reach your legs away from you. So I want you to press the front of the pelvis down into the mat. And really feel those legs straightening out behind you. And then from there, keeping your pelvis nice and still, I would like you to just lift one leg up. And then lower it down. And the important thing is that the pelvis stays square on the mat, rather than the leg lifting up too high. Okay, so you're thinking long, low reach with that leg. A nice stillness in the pelvis and in the lower back. So we're really only lifting those legs a couple of inches. Try to exhale as you lift the leg. Inhale to lower. And lift. And lower. Let's do 1 more on each side. Alright, and then rest that down. Bring your hands on either side of your chest and just push yourself back onto your knees and then come up onto hands and knees. And we'll finish with a cat stretch. So just tuck your tail underneath you and round the spine. Looking towards your thighs, take a breath into your back. And then exhale, release out into a nice neutral spine. You have to lift up through the back of the neck a little bit. Take a breath in. Now think of that movement starting at the tailbone. So tucking your tailbone between your legs. Feeling those lower abdominals drawing in. Try and round the lower back as much as you possibly can. It's really tempting to push the floor away and round the upper back. But that is going to curve naturally for us anyway. And as we spend most of our lives rounded up there, we want to try not to push too much into the upper back. Okay, so focus on that lower back rounding, curling under. Get that lower back to stretch. Take a breath in. And then exhale, release. Let's do one more. Breathe in there. Exhale, move from the pelvis. Feel that lovely ripple of movement going all the way up through the spine. Look to your thighs at the top. Take a big, wide breath into your back. And then release the spine out into neutral. And then bring yourself off your hands. And you are all done. It's a short, brief introduction to the basic Pilates exercises that you can add to a little routine that you do every day. Thanks very much for watching.